In this video, we are going to highlight the 11 most common problems you should keep an eye out for if you're going to buy a Ram 1500 of the 4th generation. And just before we start, please make sure you've subscribed to the channel. Transmission problems. Transmission problems have been reported by Ram 1500 owners. The most typical issue is when the driver releases the brake or accelerates, he feels a bump in the transmission. Although not a serious issue, this one could harm the transmission in your truck. Since many of the affected owners were told by their dealers that they couldn't replicate the problem and therefore there was nothing they could do about it, this problem is also renowned for being challenging to replicate. The primary sign of the issue is feeling a hard shift, jerk, or slip when turning or changing gears. The most impacted vehicle was the Ram 1500 model from 2014. If you are the car's owner, a straightforward software update will fix the problem. If the problem is severe, however, you will need to spend $750 to replace the drive shaft. It is unlikely that your mechanic will request that you replace the transmission entirely. Air suspension does not work properly. The air suspension in the 2014 Ram 1500 has been criticized by owners for being inefficient. The majority of issues are reported when it is cold outside. Various error codes are displayed by the system on the instrument panel. The main causes of these errors are compressor failure, low ambient temperature, and blown fuses. The Ram 1500's air suspension also has an issue with the airbags collapsing from the right to the left position. The truck is unable to move up or down in accordance with its various ride height capacities. This issue can make your car less mobile in rough terrain. Additionally, it may cause the car to become off balance, which may cause an accident. Receiving various error codes in the instrument cluster relating to the suspension is the main symptom of this issue. Moving underneath the truck and confirming the airbag's assembly will allow you to properly check the operation of your airbag. Your suspension is in perfect condition if they are straight. You should have the air suspension checked by a mechanic if they are leaning to the right or left. Compressor failure is another possibility. This issue typically requires a $2,260 repair bill. If your Ram 1500 is having issues, you could be looking at a sizable repair bill. Cracked dashboard. The dashboard on earlier Ram 1500 models had cracks in it. Although a cracked dashboard is not fatal, it can make a beautiful truck look messy. The dashboard of the Ram 1500 reportedly begins to crack at about 83,000 miles. The Dodge Ram 1500 dashboard being damaged by the sun is the main culprit. Plastic on the dashboard is prone to cracking and splitting over time. Especially in hot climates, the simple solution to its problem is to purchase a dashboard cover that will shield the dashboard from the sun. The engine will not turn on in stalls. The Ram 1500's engine malfunction is another issue that plagues its owners. When you insert the key, the car does not start. When you try to start the truck by inserting the key into the ignition, you might hear a clicking sound or occasionally nothing at all. The culprit is typically a bad battery or a loose cable connection. If you're lucky, all that needs to be tightened to restore electrical flow is the loose cable. If you're unlucky, a defective starter motor may also be to blame. The only solution is to replace it, which will set you back a minimum of $230. Your truck may experience issues with a bad sensor that cause the engine to stall while you're driving. Cam and lifter failure. Many Ram 1500 owners have complained that their vehicle stalls while idling or stopping, or it unexpectedly seizes up. Failure of the cam and lifters is the most frequent cause of this issue. Any Ram 1500 model can experience this issue, but the most affected are the more recent models. Many owners have stated that they began experiencing cam and lifter issues at fewer than 75,000 miles. Ram is renowned for its strength and durability, so this is a big problem. A cam and lifter failure in the middle of the road can leave you stranded and result in costly repairs that could total thousands of dollars. A running engine may make knocking or tapping noises as one of the symptoms. When 2 or 3 cylinders misfire with the lifters seizing, As a result, 1 to 2 of the cam's lobes become heavily grooved and damaged, prematurely wearing down the cam. You could run into serious difficulties if you don't address this problem. You do not want to find yourself in this predicament. If your truck's engine makes any knocking or tapping noises, you should have it inspected by a local mechanic to prevent turning it into a lemon. The only way to fix this issue is to replace the cam and lifter, which will set you back at least $3,500. Avoid buying one if it makes knocking noises when it runs if you're in the market for one. If you decide to proceed with the purchase, have a mechanic check the condition of the cam and lifters before you make the decision. Cruise control cannot be canceled. A problem that can be fatal for their owners affects owners of the Ram 1500 from 2014 to 2019. The truck's sophisticated cruise control is the problem. Once activated, the cruise control cannot be deactivated. Due to the fact that cruise control is typically used on highways at high speeds, this circumstance increases the risk of an accident. The likelihood of surviving any accidents on the highway is incredibly slim. If the CC does not disengage after being manually turned off, this situation is hazardous. Additionally, because there is no way to control the truck, the driver may panic and worsen the situation. A short circuit in the wiring of the truck is the primary cause of this issue. As a result, the driver might be unable to depress the brake pedal to disable the cruise control. The truck spins out of control if the car keeps going at its current speed or perhaps accelerates. Although there are no symptoms, you should have your cruise control system checked at a Dodge dealership nearby if you notice it acting strangely. However, it would be wiser to wait to use this feature until it has been completely fixed. Dodge has recalled all the cars and trucks with a defective cruise control system as a result of numerous complaints from Dodge owners. Vehicle May Rollaway. Another issue, which is also very concerning, has been reported by owners of Dodge Ram 1500 vehicles from the 2007 to 2017 model years. The problem is that when the truck is parked and neither the handbrake nor the e-brake is engaged, it tends to roll away on its own. As the owner has no idea when their truck might roll off and cause problems for them and others, this is a worrying situation. Numerous reports of injuries and accidents caused by trucks that rolled away on their own exist. Applying a handbrake or an e-brake to prevent your truck from rolling off on its own when you leave your truck is a simple and fast solution to this issue. It will take some getting used to if you primarily rely on the parking gear and rarely use an e-brake or handbrake. The transmission shift without applying the brakes is the primary culprit. What happens is that the brake transmission shift interlock pin may become stuck in the open position if the brake pedal is pressed repeatedly while the car is moving or in park. The transmission can be switched from park to any gear without pressing the brake pedal or turning the key in the ignition because the pin is in the open position. This is bad for a truck that prides itself on dependability because even slight braking can cause your truck to roll away on its own. Dodge recognized the issue and issued a recall for all the impacted vehicles. You should take your Ram 1500 to a nearby Dodge dealership to have it checked if you notice that you can shift gears without using the brake or the ignition. Side curtain airbags are disabled. The side curtain airbags and seatbelt pretensions being disabled is another issue Ram 1500 owners from the 2013 to 2016 model years have to deal with. This is a serious issue because malfunctioning safety equipment can result in irreparable damage in the event of a crash or rollover. Ram 1500 is also used as an off-track road, so strict safety measures must be taken. Serious issues may arise if the truck's safety equipment, such as the airbags, are broken. Off-road driving presents the issue, which is typically made worse by the debris striking the vehicle and potentially setting off a fault in the occupant restraint controller's roll rate sensor. The seatbelt pre-tensioner and the rollover side curtain airbag won't deploy as a result of this defect. This problem applies to anyone who uses their Ram 1500 as a regular vehicle, not just those who drive their trucks off-road. Fortunately, Dodge has recalled each of the cars that have this specific issue. Tailgate may open unexpectedly. The power-locking tailgate on Ram 1500 models from the 2015 to 2017 has been a source of complaints from owners. Although this is not a truck braking issue, there are some situations where it can be fatal for both you and other people. The tailgate is the cause of the issue because it opens and closes suddenly. When your truck is parked in the garage or while you are driving down the highway, it could happen at any time. This could be very troublesome. The tailgate actuator limiter tab is the root of the issue. If that tab breaks, the tailgate might unlatch and open while you're driving. No distinct symptoms exist. Get your tailgate checked at a nearby Dodge dealership if you notice that it is loose or not supporting its weight. Or you could drive without any cargo so that there is nothing inside the truck that could endanger the road if the tailgate opens while you're driving. Following numerous customer complaints, Dodge has recalled all affected vehicles, including the Ram 1500. This issue impacted more than 1 million vehicles. Bad exhaust manifold. In 2016, the Ram 1500 suffered yet another fatal flaw. The exhaust manifold is where the main issue is. When the bolts holding the exhaust manifold fail, dangerous gases may leak into the air or car compartment. It is extremely risky because these leaky gases may result in serious health issues. Hearing a ticking noise coming from the engine is the main symptom that the owners are noticing. Get your car checked by a nearby mechanic if you hear one. If you have a Ram 1500 and are experiencing this issue, replacing the manifold's bolts will cost you $1,200 labor included. If you are looking to purchase one, keep an eye out for this kind of issue. EGR Cooler Leaks coolant and sparks. The Ram 1500 models produced from 2014 to 2019 have a significant problem. Ram 1500's exhaust gas recirculation cooler develops microscopic cracks that let coolant leak and start a fire. Preheated vaporized coolant can enter the EGR system through the cooler's crack. The combination could burn up inside the intake manifold. This leads to engine fires, which are extremely dangerous because they can destroy the entire truck as well as take a human life. According to reports, at least 4 people were hurt while attempting to douse the flames before their truck was completely destroyed. In October 2019, nearly 160,000 vehicles were recalled. Even worse, people must wait a full month to receive their repaired truck. What is the worst model year of Ram 15.0? A Ram 15.0 truck is extremely dependable and typically lasts for 10 to 12 years. The Ram 15.0 delivers the strong engine and high towing capacity you need in a truck. We advise you to stay away from the model years listed below if you plan to purchase a used one. Avoid the model years of 2013 and 2014. They have the most unresolved problems and a number of manufacturing flaws without recalls. These model years are plagued by a variety of expensive-to-fix issues, such as transmission failure and engine issues. Airbag failure and vehicle rollaway problems also affected vehicles from the 2007 model year and later. Thankfully, a recall was able to address these problems. The tailgate opening abruptly, as well as cam and lifter failures, were problems with later models. The car from the 2019 model year should also be avoided. Both electrical and steering wheel issues plagued this model year, rendering the vehicle undrivable. These are the issues that the most recent models have also fixed. For a Ram 15.0, the best years are 2008, 2010, and 2020. These models come with a sturdy suspension, a modified engine, and a high towing capacity that can compete with some of the V8 engines we are familiar with. They also have the fewest problems overall. With these models, you can't go wrong.